Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's Adventures with Peps. We are going to paint a Slaine model. It's been a while since we've visited Pat Mills' Slaine characters. We're going to kick off this one with Nest, who is a former student of the Druid's College and daughter of a dragon trainer. She meets Slaine in his quest to get some dragons, and she only ends up joining the group after he realizes she is needed to control the dragons. I'm hoping this is going to be a fun little paint project because the colours are a lot more muted than the Judge Dredd range and any of my 40k armies. So with that in mind, let's get into painting. To kick things off, we are starting with Crusader skin. Obviously I'm going to use this for the flesh. The Slaine models have a lot of skin tone going on, so I'm going to be getting plenty of practicing with this. I'm hoping the Crusader skin works for me. I think it might be a little bit too dark. Worst case scenario is I'll go over the model at a later date and line it up. But we'll see how this goes. We're going to catch the hand, the arms, the face and her chest. Her legs are covered so we don't have to worry about them. And really it's mostly her arms and shoulder and face that are on display. So yeah, basically in the stories, I've got to try and remember my my comic reading. Her father was killed, and when a random dragon, an evil beast of a dragon, came to the village, her uncle blames her, and they're going to sacrifice her to the dragon. And Slaine comes along and saves her, and they have a little adventure like they always do, and he ends up getting a dragon. But he soon realizes he doesn't know how to control one and needs Nest to join them in their quest. So she comes along to look after the dragon. She does appear later on in the comic series as well, after the death of Slaine, and she joins the dwarf Ukko, who we are going to be painting soon on the channel. And she helps him retell the stories of Slaine and actually make sure that they're truthful. During this period, the dwarf falls in love with her, and I honestly believe she falls in love with him. And it's a cute little relationship. Now, in-game, I don't know the rules for Slaine. I'll put my hands up. We are going to have to do a series on how to play the game as I learn it myself. She is in the starter box set, so I assume she has some pretty good skill set, but I have no idea what that might be. From my understanding of the rules, she gains a couple of boon cards, which I guess are kind of similar to a magical ability, and she also gets a feat card because she is a pretty good fighter in her own right after spending some time with Slaine. And then she has some, I guess, quite specialized skills, one being her evade improves when fighting against big creatures. How often that comes up in the game, I'm unsure. But her stats look pretty good. They're obviously not Slaine level, but I think she could handle herself in combat, especially if she's supporting someone or being supported. Just going to quickly do the face and then we will move on to the next step. So up next is the camo cloak, which is a very light green. It's obviously a camouflagey colour, as you could imagine. On the model of Warlord Games website, they show certain areas like her bodice and her legs are, it looks like a very dark brown / black colour. I wasn't super keen on it, so I'm going to go green. So we're going to use that on the bodice, her legs, her feet, and her arm braces. I feel this is going to pair off against the yellow that we're going to do yet later. And I think it just, for me at least, I think it's a better combo than the black. When I was looking at artwork of Nest, a lot of it is obviously black and white artwork. So I feel like you have the freedom to do what you want. I personally think in the land of the young, they're more likely to wear green. There's surprisingly a lot of areas to get. And it's quite a small model. I always forget with these Warlord games, they're not Age of Sigmar scale. They are more, I guess, realistically scaled. so her arms are very teeny tiny. Trying to get these without spilling into the flesh tone is really difficult, but we're getting there. As you can see, I've done the bodice. Just got to get this other arm brace. And we can then move on to the next step. But I'm pretty happy with how this is looking so far. I'm worried this green might dry a little bit lighter than I'm hoping for. I'm thinking I may have been braver and gone with the darker green that I have in my collection, the Absolution green. But we'll just wait and see how that dries. Up next comes dark wood. This is going to be a quick, simple step. We are going to be using this on anything that is wood. That's surprising, isn't it, for you? You weren't expecting that from the dark wood paint. As far as I can tell, it's only this torch in our hand, so this is a very straightforward step. Just being careful, I don't want to flood into the flame, because I want that to look nice and bright when we get to painting it. Going to carefully cut in around the hand. Just taking my time. I got no rush on this model. It was a pretty quick model to paint, to be fair. From start to finish, we are looking at around 20 minutes in total. Speed paints really do help it. Obviously, once I got all the speed paints on, I will go back and touch up some areas. But I think the speed paints, they get you to tabletop ready so quick. I love it. Right, up next comes the hardened leather. This we are going to use on her belt and the little dagger scabbard that we've got going on. One thing I love about belts is just a quick swipe across. It's so simple. Very satisfying to do. Just got to be careful in this area because the green is still a little bit wet. I don't want that bleeding together. And then just want to try and avoid the skin as much as possible. Keeping it clean because I've got yellow going on very soon, so I don't want to make too much of a mess here. And that is that step complete. Oof, so easy. Forgot to mention we also did her necklace in that colour for now. Then we move on to the Zealot yellow. This is going to be the last final piece of the clothing, and we're also going to start the flame with this. So my plan is I want the lower half of the flame to have white still showing. Then hopefully whilst the yellow is still wet, we'll bleed in other colours like orange and black, working all the way up to the black as like the tips of the flames. This is something a little bit new to me, so I'm just messing around and trying to work out how I'm going to do it. That looks good for now. Got the white there in the centre, that's obviously going to be the hottest part of the flame. We then pick out this belt buckle. Wasn't entirely sure how I was going to paint this. Later on when it's dry and I'm cleaning up everything, I actually go over it again with the leather colour, leaving just the ringlets yellow. I didn't realise it's not one giant belt buckle, it's actually a leather belt with holes in it. Then catch this shoulder guard. I feel like I'm painting Judge Dredd again. Look at that. Zealot yellow is a great colour. It really does show up well. Goes into those shadows perfectly. It just paints wonderfully. It's probably my favourite colour in the Army Painter range. We then go into the Fire Giant orange, which we are going to use for her ginger hair. Once again, different artwork shows different things. So Warlord Games painted her with ginger hair. She is obviously Celtic, so it would make sense that she's ginger. But then later on in, I guess, the 90s, she becomes blonde for a little while. And then there's also artwork that shows her with brown hair. So it's very much, I guess, up to the artist / colorist how to paint her. We're going ginger because that to me makes the most sense. And just like the yellow, this stuff goes on perfectly. Just on this white, simple base coat, the colour is picking up so well. Now, as you've probably seen, I have just gone with a pure white base coat. I was being lazy. I decided to paint it just white. Normally I would go black and then do a highlight, but I just couldn't be bothered. So we just went pure white. I knew I was going to use speed paint, so I wanted to just dive on in, not waste too much time with it. We're then hitting the next section with the orange on the flame. This is where the heat is slowly escaping from the flame source and getting darker in colour. I think I'm doing alright with the flame. I'm not going to mess around too much with that. Maybe put a couple of dots around. There we go. I think we will leave it alone. Oh, nearly dropped it. Yeah. Let's leave that. I think we're good. Sand Golem is the next paint on our hit list. This is going to be for her skirt. I originally was going to go yellow, but then I thought that might be too bright. This isn't an era of bright colours, unless you're one of the sea demons. This is meant to be a little bit muted, so I thought Sand Golem would be good for the skirt. Very simply, I'm going from top to bottom, trying to follow the creasings. Find that helps keep the shade in. Making sure I try and get rid of any pooling that's happening and any air bubbles that pop up. Just want to make sure I get the colour down first, nice and neatly. And then I'm going to work my way around using the brush just to pick up any of these extra bits. And we're going to colour in the underskirt as well. As you can see, the brush is doing a great job of absorbing the excess pieces. I'm struggling to talk today. I'm just using it to paint the rest of the model. Very simple step. Just like that, I'm letting the model do most of the work. I'm just trying to absorb anything that's going to look a bit patchy when we've finished up. Spread out the excess paint, and there you go. I think we are at a point where I'm going to let it dry, and then we'll come back. I'll come back and clean it up, and you can see some final pictures in a moment. As always, I hope you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Cheers for watching.